Hello everyone. Thanks for watching another Sunday case study. This week I'm looking at the hand of Kiera Knightley. Now, I've got her right hand handprint. Excellent. Great stuff. Really pleased about this. There's a lot here that is very unusual and a lot that I can't say because of what I don't see. But some of the negatives here provide me with some answers at the same time. It's a bit of an odd one because, I was watching Black Doves on Netflix recently and I saw Keira Knightley's hands and I thought, wow, this is really odd. Look at this little finger here. It's really crooked. On the left hand in particular. What does this mean? Look at it. Crazy, right? Really, really crooked. There's no real other way to put it. Warped, rupted, twisted. Crooked is the best word. And being the left hand, that's internal. This is an aspect of palmistry known as chirognomy, the analysis of the hand shape and finger shape. So, as far as what this means, the tip of the Mercury finger is all about verbal expression. And if you notice here on the handprint itself, handprints are unique in terms of hand analysis because they show us completely different side because of the way the information is presented. Notice how you have some parts of the print are darker than others. Some places are completely negative altogether, and this provides us with information as well. And where the images are darker, this shows us where the traits, the personalities, the skills that might be stronger, where the aspects of those person, that psyche, the persona is enhanced, it's strengthened, so that willpower, um, ambition, ego, career aims, and societal contribution, family, um, these aspects are really strong within this person. But as well as that verbal communication and her ability to persuade is immensely strong. As well as notice Apollo stands out from the rest of the fingers as well in terms of how the prints come out. Notice how the second phalanx is wasted, highly critical eye, a nitpicker, probably likes to split hairs, probably a little bit argumentative. Notice how um, the tip of Apollo is very well developed. Artistic beauty, aesthetics mean a great deal to this person. Natural beauty as well, I would think. And in this print, we can see that she clearly has a very well developed lunar mount. Imagination is very strong within this person. Her dreams, she's probably very uh, well connected with, relates to. And I say that partly because of the hand shape. We have a long palm, long fingers. Keira Knightley is undoubtedly a water hand, and water hands are always more intuitive. They're more in um, contact and relate closely to water aspects. And this is lunar. Lunar affects the tides. The moon is a gigantic magnet, and without it, we wouldn't have waves. We wouldn't have the tides coming in and out. We wouldn't have the same effects on our bodies even without the moon. And so it's a very mysterious kind of cosmic um, uh, uh, influencer, shall we say. And water hands are at the mercy almost of the moon in some respects. So to be more specific, she is a water hand, absolutely. But in terms of the 12 type hand classification method, there are two main water hands. I mean, you probably put it down to three or four. Analytical certainly is one of them, but there is the egocentric as well as the intuitive. And Kiera Knightley is certainly an intuitive type. She is highly sensitive. She is emotional. She is dramatic. There is certainly a dramatic flair here. And this again is compounded by the strength of the Apollo finger we see here in this print. Water hands are emotional, they are sensitive, they are artistic and creative, but they are also highly intelligent, highly aware. With awareness comes great sensitivity. Now, the heart line is low set. It arcs upwards towards in between Jupiter and Saturn, the place of judgment as well as society, duty, doing the right thing and the inevitable. So this is a place the heartline lands in a place where it provides a person with the correct moral compass. The low hanging heartline is a capacity to love and be loved. Again, this is someone who is sensitive and deeply feeling. Now, this sensitivity is a strength because the um, range of emotional capacity provides her with the skill set to become a rich and powerful actor, someone who can influence and inspire with portraying those rich array of varied emotional. The headline, the powerful headline, look at how deep it is. It reaches far into a well-developed lunar mount. So again, she's in touch with her imagination and with with this sensitivity and that imagination, that kind of enhances that ability to act. Now, what I don't see, and this does surprise me a little bit, is a fate line. I don't see any line coming from, I would expect to see it come from Luna. Right around here, I would expect to see carving upwards in an arc, a kind of semicircular arc, a bow-like arc up towards Saturn, or even, near Jupiter, or even Apollo, in fact, but certainly coming from Luna. Now, I don't see that at all. I don't see a fate line at all. Partly, I think it's because of the absence of the central plane of Mars, and this is a sign of when we have a concave central plane of Mars, it shows someone who has that lacking of ability to stand up for themselves, and especially when we see a wasted phalanx, second phalanx of the thumb, that can show diplomacy, tact. But when we see it's in conjunction with this, then it's someone who doesn't have an ability to stand up for themselves. Now, thankfully, Kiera does, because when we look at this image here, which is pretty much the only other decent image I could find online of her hands, we don't see a second phalanx of the thumb that's wasted. And when I say wasted, I mean sort of pinched in, like we see of the second phalanx of Apollo here, this nitpicky, kind of highly critical eye. And that critical nature, she's her own worst critic, by the way, is a classic trait of an actor. Every actor, every good actor should have this. It's not good in a way because it means she's in her own head a lot and she's constantly criticizing herself. So when others do, it's like she has two voices criticizing her at the same time. Now, the really interesting thing about Keira Knightley is that she is a tiger, and she is a tiger woman. And I say this because the lifeline and the headline are disconnected. There's quite a large space, there's around about a centimeter here. And this provides a person with a disconnect between the mind's energies and the environment. So we're looking at the right hand. This is a very practical way in which this person is disconnected. It means that she has a very nonconformist approach thinking, in her thinking process. She is quite a radical thinker. She has that ability to come up with ideas that others don't normally. She takes a very different path in terms of her thinking process. So there's a disconnect. That's where that kind of non-conformist thinking comes in. But on the flip side, the con is to the pro that she is impatient. She's brash. She thinks. She leaps before she thinks. That's why it's the mark of the tiger. Tiger women are fiercely independent. They are forces to be reckoned with, which is why we have such a strong and um, self-aware Jupiter finger. This is someone who knows what she wants to do and how she wants to do it. And the measured thumb shows that she's going to do it in a way that is quite fair, I would say. I mean, she's certainly extremely willful, but she's not a bully. And that's because she's been in that position where she has been bullied. She understands. I think she actually just has actually that word understands. I'm touching on that, and it struck something with me because I get the sense here that she has a great level of understanding. And of course she does. She's an exceptional actor. But there is something about Keira Knightley that stands out to me that made me want to read her hands altogether. And it's this left hand tip of the Mercury finger here. It's crooked. Why is that? Well, I see it more on the left hand than on the right hand. It is slightly crooked, but it's more a left hand thing, so it's affecting her more internally. And I feel like this is because it's a, it's the reasons for this are it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say because it's more on the left hand and I only have a clear image of the right hand. So I can only really sort of surmise and come to kind of a half-baked conclusion. It's not going to be an accurate conclusion, but I am going to come to something of a conclusion as to why I think this is. Now, all of the fingers on the hand are kind of even in terms of where they where they protrude from the palm. When you look at this image here, you can see that, well, firstly, I just want to mention that Jupiter and Apollo are level. They are level in where they come out, emerge from the hand, as well as where they end up. This is a clear sign of someone who has a great understanding of their own abilities and, to judge in terms of their own capabilities. It's a sign of fame in palmistry. And notice how all three fingers here are really leveled off. They're leveled off with each other. And as well as that, the thumb is balanced in terms of logic and will. She's certainly very willful, but there is not too much will. As I say, she has been in that position where she's been pushed around. So there's a great deal of balance here. She is very well developed in terms of her psychological and emotional makeup. But where she loses energy is through Mercury. And this is because it's much lower set. And actually, this surprised me a little bit as well. Mercury is actually short. It's deceptive because sometimes the low set Mercury makes us think that it's a short finger. But what we need to do is measure the length of Mercury with the first two phalanges, the bottom two phalanges of Apollo. And when we see that this is in fact shorter than the total length of these two phalanges, then we have a short Mercury finger. And it's short because it's crippled, because it's corrupted, because it's warped. So although she has a good sense of her own, she has a well-developed ego. She has a good sense of her own self-awareness, what she's capable of, who she is and what she wants and how she's going to get it. Um, she knows her own strengths and weaknesses. She knows her own talent. She's got her own, um, well-adjusted voice in her own head that kind of she tells her, she's got her own dialogue saying, "No, that take I could have done it better if I'd said that word a little bit longer and put the inflection over here. Next take, I'm going to do that." She's her own director. Brilliant. She's so well adjusted in so many areas, but in terms of expression, she's been damaged here. Now, this is because I feel she's probably been in a relationship where she's jumped in. Again, remember, Tiger woman, very independent. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it without thinking. Tiger people tend to take risks, and those risks are not always with money or with health. Sometimes and often, especially with a water hand, very sensitive, um, strong need to love and be loved. They throw themselves into relationships without thinking, and they give themselves wholeheartedly, and they lose out because they often end up damaged emotionally, psychologically, and brokenhearted. And this, I believe, is what's happened. She may well have gotten herself involved in a controlling relationship, and as a result, has developed, because we're looking at the left hand here, a kind of an internal need to not convey her true self. There's hesitancy to be truthful as due to a kind of coping mechanism because of what she's been through, because of psychological and emotional damage. And I think it's because she probably jumped in headlong with someone who was potentially emotionally abusive. So that's where I'm going with it. Now, this is not a completely accurate kind of diagnosis, but it's the best I could do with what I've got. Now, here's something else. The negative that's developed by the fingers here is as a result of the way the finger muscles develop. Now, in a palm print, the information is presented in a very different way. It shows us information in a way that a photograph can't. And remember, I said earlier that the darker parts of the palm print show us the more key aspects. Um, it points us in the direction of where a palm needs investigating, and so too does the negative. So what's really interesting here is that we can see that she has a great sense of freedom to enact her will and her ideas. She is, I would say, she's very diplomatic. She is very persuasive when she wants to be. She can lie when she wants to. She's really developed that as a skill. That's not to say that she is a liar or even deceitful, but she has that skill. She's developed that skill as a survival technique. But this negative of the fingers here, where the fingers meet the palm, is derived out of the way the muscles have developed in the hand because of playing wooden instruments. She is likely musical, and she likely has developed skills with a musical instrument, either guitar, violin, cello. It could be something where the fingers are, in constant use, and it creates this kind of negative in a fingerprint, in a palm print image. And I really love that about palmistry and the different ways that we can extract information from the hands in the way and the different ways that the palms can present that information. Now, water hands in particular have a predisposition towards several um, health issues, and one of those is back issues, and we see that in the fate line. We don't see a fate line here, so we can't really talk about that. But that's very common because long palm, long fingers often means a very a slim, slender, long person, and without that kind of muscular, the muscles to surround and protect the back, there is often back issues, and you can see those by the way that the fate line is jarred. There's often an S bend. Um, and that can show us some spinal issues. That's often seen in water hands. Also, autoimmune diseases, lung and throat issues are often problems of water hands, but as well as that, mental health issues. And that's because water hands are often, as I've already said, very intelligent and very emotional. Now, sensitive, sorry. And so the combination of these things here, when you're intelligent, you are aware. And when you're aware, you're much more prone to depression, as well as being sensitive. Now, the headline here is really interesting because it kind of arcs downwards in towards something that's very creative, that's very in touch with her imagination, and then something happens, and there's something of what looks like an island here. It's very unsettling. It's not clear cut. It's not very healthy, and then it levels off after something of a break, and it becomes a lot more clear, a lot more focused, a lot healthier. So I see here depression, without a doubt. And, the fact that it rises upwards, it reaches a much more um, practical, much more kind of level-headed, stable approach, outlook, perspective. I've just picked up Pixie here because she had something to say in the kitchen. I don't know what that was about. Can you explain what that was about, Pixie? You got anything to say? No, she's clammed up all of a sudden. I don't know, the cameras are on and she's got nothing to say anymore. No? Okay, never mind. She likes to sit on my back and um, at times chew my hair and my ears. Now, the lacking of a fate line in the hand is said to be, in medieval palmistry, it was said that this is a sign of a criminal, a vagabond, a rogue, a drifter, someone who lives on the fringes of societies and does not abide by its laws. In more modern schools of thought, This is some people even say that they have control of their own destiny. If there is no destiny line, then they have control of it. And I think there is some truth to both of these things. But I think there is also ultimately a feeling of I've got to be remind myself here. We're looking at the right hand, so this is why it's very unusual. A feeling of a lack of satisfaction over what we've achieved, over our efforts that we're putting into our path and our purpose in life. Now, I can only surmise that we're not seeing a fate line here because of lack of clarity, because of the negative that's produced here, because of what her career means to her and her purpose in life as well. And also, the feeling I get here when I look at this person's hand is that there is a lack of happiness. There's a lack of happiness because, I noticed that there's a very blotchy kind of mark here on the sun mount. Um, I can see that some success is deriving, it's coming from outer Mars, which is a real kind of dogged, determined approach towards success, almost kind of bull in a china shop behavior approach towards success. And it's a really positive sign when it's seen in the hands of people who are aspiring towards literary or artistic endeavors. So that makes sense, but it's not all that strong. It's not, I mean, I had to really look to see it. It's not like it's fully well and truly there. It's not providing her with a tremendous amount of happiness. And really, where I see happiness developing for this person is actually in her 60s and onwards. And that's a really sad tale because what I see here is that actually, in fact, this person, although she's a tremendous achiever, she's not happy. And when I look at her later life here, late 60s, 70s even, I see travel, um, and with this strengthening of focus and clarity in her kind of perspective and outlook. I think what we're going to see is a kind of a reawakening in terms of her purpose in later life. And I think she's probably going to make up for a lot of lost time. I think she's probably thrown herself into her work and maybe unhappy relationships. Now, I've just mentioned that word because when I look at this line here, it looks pretty good. I mean, again, I don't have incredible clarity in this image, but this is the thing. When I look at this relationship line, it points towards this as a disturbance. Now, it could be that there will be some sort of divorce, maybe 45. And even then, there's still not. I mean, the hands really show us a view of things to come, and that view is ever changing with our present circumstances. So maybe the sun mount will look a lot clearer, a lot happier, a lot more productive and straightforward in the possibilities towards happiness. Because I should really be seeing fame and financial success in the right hand here. I'm not seeing that because I don't think that she really cares about those things. I don't think those things really matter to her. I think this sun mount really is showing us happiness. It's blotchy. There's a cloud, a dark cloud hanging over her happiness at the moment, and I feel like it's relationship related. Um, so let's see what happens. Perhaps post 45. I've literally just Googled her now. She's the same age as me. She's 39. I'm now looking at her husband with a question mark. So I'm not really all that certain, just because I don't have a great deal of clarity here. And I mean, maybe this is some sort of pixelated error here, but it looks to me as though the hand is hinting at a possibility of a divorce at, I would say, anywhere between 42 and 45. It's not as if this person is restricted physically or she can't carry out her own ideas. We don't see a thumb that's kind of tucked inwards, like she's not able to carry out her will. As I say, this is a very willful person. Um, I feel like it would be very difficult to tie this person down, so to speak. But I don't think she's happy in her relationship. Now, the one thing I feel is really interesting in her hand is this. If you look real closely, This is an intuition line, and it's not fully formed, it's not reaching up onto Mercury, but it's there and it's rare. Uh, So I'm surprised to see it whenever I see it, but especially in the hand of a Hollywood actor. And Water Hands, as I've already mentioned, she's an intuitive type. And if you want to know more about what I mean by an intuitive hand type, please do read my blog on my website, the 12 hand type classification method. And I've detailed um, pretty comprehensively there what I mean by an intuitive hand. It's fairly self-explanatory. I think she's very in touch with her dreams. She probably has premonitions. She's a little bit psychic. There's just no other way to put it. Um, And being that all things Jupiterian are quite strong in her decision making, she really relies on her intuition in terms of making her decisions. I think, even when it comes to job offers, she really relies on her gut. And with a little bit of training, she could well be a really great psychic. So just to come back to this, the dark kind of secret that we see here in the left hand little finger, the tip. The reason why the left hand little finger is so crooked here and bends in so much, and we can see it more clearly in this image here, it's a very internal thing, and I feel it's an adaptation. It's a survival mechanism, a coping mechanism towards an environment that she has had to cope in, survive in. She's developed um, something of um, deceit, but again, because of the left hand, it's internal. She's lying to herself. That's what this is, and it's quite deep, isn't it? And I've mentioned she's not happy in a relationship. I feel she is tricking herself. She's not happy. There's no happiness in that hand, that handprint I've been looking at all this video. And although it's the right hand, there still should be some satisfaction from the environmental and what she's carrying out, her physical efforts. There's nothing particularly healthy in terms of happiness, and that physical this sorry communicative and expressive uh, crippled part of nature, this psychological and emotional damage here. She can be very persuasive, and she can lie when she wants to. She's an adequate liar when she wants to. And again, that's not to say that she is deceitful or a liar, but she is very good at that. And I think that she's duping herself more than anyone else. And that's what this means. That's what this twisted um, left hand first phalanx of the Mercury finger is showing us in Kiera Knightley's hand. It's pretty dark and deep here with this one, but let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you very much for watching. Please do comment with any of your thoughts, like, subscribe, and I will see you for next Sunday's case study. We're going to be looking at the Queen Camilla Parker Bowles, and we'll see all we can for our Christmas Sunday case study. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one. Merry Christmas, by the way.